He was a commanding officer in Operation Desert Storm and today is using his battlefield skills at Sears. Here's the story of Gus Pagonis.
In August 1990, Lieutenant General William G. Gus Pagonis arrived in Saudi Arabia with a team of 3 logisticians. He would spearhead the most ambitious movement of people and materiel in human history.
How many people directly report to you?
Around 50,000 now.
Logistics won the Gulf War.
To the soldier that's out in the desert, the mail is the most important thing. To the commander who needs the ammunition, that's the most important thing.
What's the biggest nightmare? I mean, is there a recurring nightmare that comes back every day?
It seems when the U.S. first sent troops to the Gulf, General Pagonis was struggling to find enough vehicles he could use. And Saudi Arabian citizens were charging inflated prices for their cars and trucks. That's when a frustrated General Pagonis wrote a memo he would later regret.
Well, he signed a letter and sent it out to all of his commanders all over the theater that gave them free license to just go in and commandeer Saudi Arabian vehicles, automobiles, you know, everything from trucks down to Mercedes. That was about the only time I ever had to rein him back in and say, wait a minute, Gus.
Now, I got to tell you, he laughs about it now, but the sense of humor, it was there, but he made his point that we don't confiscate anything.
As commander of logistics, Pagonis was in charge of everything that moved.
He started from absolutely zero, and it certainly made life a lot easier for me.
For his efforts, Pagonis was awarded a 3rd star by General Schwarzkopf.
The man in charge is General Gus Pagonis.
Retired General Gus Pagonis was the chief of logistics for the Gulf War. He's the author of the book Moving Mountains. I remember very, very vividly your heroic efforts.
When the war ended, General Pagonis packed up his men and equipment, said goodbye to the military, and headed for Sears.
Doing exactly what I did in the military. Instead of moving ammunition, fuel, food, and bullets, I now move clothing, apparel, appliances.
The general's no-nonsense military background is an asset Sears CEO Alan Lacey applauds.
He's got an incredible sense of urgency, and the mission gets accomplished.
Gus Pagonis loves to have a mission.
You got to get out of your office, and you got to get down in the trenches.
The trenches for Gus Pagonis are filled with millions of shirts, shorts, and dresses.
While General Pagonis is now moving clothing and not combat gear, he says his work here at Sears is not much different from the work he did in the U.S. Army, with one exception.
If I screw up here, I got time to recover. If you screw up in a war zone, troops are going to die because they don't have ammunition or if they don't have water. So you can't make a mistake.
That's not to say the general has changed the direct style of leadership he developed in the Army. Every day, the general holds a 10-minute meeting where his staff stands and delivers the latest news from their divisions. If they have nothing, they simply say pass.
Pass.
Pass. Pass.
Real estate pass. And it is quick. And at the end, we can leave and go back and do what we normally do.
At first, people say, hey, that's too structured. You know, a lot of people think that's like being in the military or something. But once you start doing it, it means that you can go to a meeting, you know it's going to start on time, end on time. You're going to cover all the topics you have to cover. Everybody has a chance to speak, and then you leave.
And with his new book, Moving Mountains, he brings his insight and experience in leadership and management to the business community.
You know, I have a definition. I think there's a difference between leaders and managers. All of us have worked for managers that have made their numbers and done extremely well, but we'd never work for them ever again. They didn't take care of the troops. They didn't have any empathy. They didn't understand. They never took time to explain what was going on. Those kind of individuals absolutely are just managers. A leader is someone who puts their act together, takes care of their troops, makes sure everybody understands what the mission is, and takes the time out to get out of their offices and get out on the floor and find out exactly what's going on. Leaders are not born. Leaders are trained. Now, there's no doubt about it. There's leadership traits and management traits that really come together. And so a good leader has both. A good manager may only have the management traits. Certain managers will stick out. Certain managers just get it. They know how to motivate people and how to challenge the way we do things. The leadership style is different for every individual. How many of you can tell your subordinates what your leadership style is? Can you articulate your leadership style? My leadership style has been developed over many years, stealing ideas, good and bad, from people I've worked for. I've worked for some wonderful leaders in my lifetime. General Powell, the Secretary of State, the senior President Bush when he was the president during the Gulf War. General Schwarzkopf is a dynamic leader. My style is one where I feel keeping people informed is extremely important. I think a good leader every once in a while goes back down, finds out what's going on, and comes back up. I actually have in every business a logistics person living in the business. He's called a single point of contact. He's the Spock. Their desk is right there. So if anybody has a question on logistics, they go to the single point of contact. That person gets them the answer, solves the problem. That has allowed us to effectively know exactly everything that's going on. You're going to see when I end up here, it's the people that make everything happen. Everybody has to have goals, right? You have goals. What I just described to you is done by everybody in my outfit. Now listen how this works.